You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
Welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Hello everyone and welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host Katrina and with me is my husband Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 23 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Oh, this episode always makes me sad. Steven, what did you think?
Well, I thought for a moment we might have had one of those episodes where it kind of said it feels like filler, but it's not quite filler. It just things are happening that are kind of it's a milder episode compared to some of the stuff we've had before when it comes to a lot of action, a lot of big things going on.
Yeah.
But they were just preparing you.
Yeah.
They were just like, all right, well, this is the aftermath of all the chaos we just saw, and then we're going to ramp back up to more drama.
Yeah.
So Ed is recovering in the hospital, and Al is practically a husk sitting over in a corner, and is very, very apathetic. Just does not give a damn about anything. And Ed was questioned by Roz about what they were doing, and he kind of gets kind of tells her a little bit here and there, and he kind of comes out with most of the details, and Roz is not too happy about all that.
No.
And she smacks him across the face and told him to stop acting like a child because the moment, and this is fair point on her.
No more told him to start acting like a child.
To start acting like a child?
Yes. She told him to remember that he is a child. And to let the adult shoulder some of the burden.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So, anyway, be a child, don't be a child. She can't seem to make up her mind. Then we get kind of a cut back to Winry that almost seems like it's cutting back to that very moment she realized she forgot the screw. But again, it could be sometime later where she's still mulling it over like, damn, I can't believe I forgot this. I screwed up. And about that time, Ed calls to ask for some help. And she darts off as fast as she can. And I give a lot of props to Panaka for calling her out.
Yeah.
Like, make sure you fix it right this time. So she makes her way to the Capitol, is greeted by Armstrong at the train station. And then goes to Fix, and she's looking at Ed. She didn't realize he was in the hospital. And she felt so guilty. So guilty about this, because she's like, if it wasn't for me, blah, blah, blah. Of course, Ed makes quick work of that, and acting like he was just big and bad, and he made mistakes, and it got messed up in the fights and whatever, but it's no big deal, and all her guilt went away.
Yeah, she realized he did not realize that she forgot a screw, so she's just going to roll with it.
Yep. She's like, oh, okay, that works out for me. And so meanwhile, Hughes, he does visit Ed in the hospital prior to this. I guess I forgot to touch on that. But he clears the room and asks what happened. Yeah. And Ed tries to be a little evasive about it, but then he eventually mentions the homunculi and what they were up to and what their motives were. And he even kind of mentions Marco's story about the stones and the war. Kind of lays it all out for Hughes, and Hughes is still like, hey, we just keep this under our hat for now, but we're going to investigate, we're going to look into it, but just sit on it for now. And that's when Winry showed up, and she speaks to Ed in the hospital, and as she goes to leave, that was actually before, that was trying to remember where I'm at. Okay, so back to Hughes. He was actually speaking with Mustang on the phone, kind of reiterating what he and Ed were having a conversation about, but not being very evasive with Mustang. Don't want to tell him enough. Don't want to tell him anything. Just keep it hush-hush for now, as he wants to figure all this out. Then we see Ed and Winry arguing over milk because, it helps do the body good and helps him get big and strong and rah, rah, rah. And Ed makes a little joke about, hey, Al's lucky he doesn't have to drink milk and has to deal with all this because, what good would it do him? He's a big guy, and Al's not amused. And he kind of lashes out, and they don't know what to do. They just kind of take it as like, all right, well. But Winry knows something's wrong, and she thinks something has happened between them because she's never seen him fight.
Yep.
And she was
not like that.
Okay, not like that.
Like she's seen brother squabbles,
sure,
but not,
not an actual fight.
Yeah.
So they just don't say anything when she's asking them what's going on. They don't want to say anything because they both have different thoughts about what happened.
Yeah.
Or what they think is wrong. And she gets frustrated with him because it's like, y'all aren't going to talk. Screw it. I'm going to leave. And she leaves and bumps into Hughes. And he takes this opportunity to drag her off to a birthday party. And show off his beautiful little daughter, Eliza. Oh my God, you got to go see her. He's such a... He's got two personalities. He can be so serious and just down to business, and then, oh my God, it's my daughter. Look at her. It's so cute.
She is adorable. He just loves his baby girl so much.
I know. It's just funny seeing just two different sides of him, and yet he's the same guy. It's just there's time for business and there's time for love for his daughter.
Yeah.
So she goes to the birthday party, meets Alicia. What is it? Alicia. And they kind of have a nice little chit chat, and she's talking to her and being nice and whatnot. And then Winry mentions to Hughes that, she noticed something's wrong with the brothers and can't quite figure it out. But he puts her mind at ease, saying, they're going to fight. Things happen, but at the end of the day, they're practically your brothers. They'll come to you when they're ready. So just let it happen. It'll happen. Just be there for them. And with that, Gracia, Hughes' wife, hands them a cake, or hands Winry a cake and says, here's something to go give to Ed because it's his birthday too.
Yep.
And I don't think we had seen anything about his birthday before. I thought we had.
Yes, when Alicia was born.
That's right. I remember. I was trying to pinpoint that back, and I remember there was something significant. So yes. So she goes back to the hospital to give Ed his cake, and the tension in the room is still very, very thick. And, they're trying to be buddy, chummy, get Al to laugh, and he just wants none of it. And he just asked to be moved to the roof so he could just be alone. He doesn't want to deal with it. And that's when, as Winry is trying to fix Ed's arm, she's questioning him about what happened between you two. What's going on. And Ed seems to think that Al is mad at him for not creating the stone.
Yeah.
And he thinks that he's let him down, even though in the moment, what was Al saying? Don't do it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
He heard him shouting at him, or at least you'd think he did. But he's ridden with guilt, thinking that, he's upset with him because he didn't finally do what he set out to do despite the situation. Winry tells him, it's like, it can't be it because you did something good, because you were going to have to kill people, and it can't be that.
Yeah.
Just based on what she understands about the situation, she knows he did the right thing. And Al knows he did the right thing, so it cannot be that. So she's like, just go talk to him, figure it out, say you're sorry, how hard is that, and figure it out. So he's like, all right, let's do it. We'll go up there, we'll fix him, because his arm is now fixed. So he goes up there to fix Al, and it got so deep here.
Yeah.
Because Al is practically reflecting on everything and whether or not he's real, everything that's been bugging him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ed goes up there. He lays out what parts they have, fixes up his body. And as he's doing that, he's like, I'll make this right. We'll get it figured out. We're not going to give up. Thinking that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that's the problem. But then Al finally comes out with his concerns and pretty much lays out so much anger about how I'm not real, all these implanted memories, I don't remember anything. And even as Winry's trying to help him remember, because they even mention, I felt like they mentioned a very specific moment between them, or maybe that was earlier.
Well, they were talking about, what was it? Something that had happened when they were children.
Right,
and
that's when she
I
brought
think
the cake
Alphonse and Alphonse and the dog had gotten into it or something like that, and they were laughing about it. But Al couldn't remember it.
And they were just like, well, you were little.
Mm-hmm.
So they just kind of chalked it up to that. But anyway, Al just pretty much turns on the both of them, thinking that they're all in it together. They're lying. He's not real. No matter what they say, he's just not going to hear it. He's got it convinced in his head. It's deep. And Ed tries to stop him from running off and gets smacked across the face in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And then Al jumps off the building and just takes off running. And that's where they leave us. And it's sad, too, because the fact that it's gotten in so deep into his head that he's not even going to listen to reason. Not even the one memory that they mentioned prior should have been a little something. The fact that you even mentions, you're talking about other people in their lives.
Yeah.
And he thinks that it's not just his brother, but everybody is in on this.
Yeah.
And I guess for a delusional mind that's convinced of something, you're gonna make yourself think that's truth, and nothing will convince you otherwise, because you've got it so deeply ingrained in your head that nothing's gonna convince you that you're wrong. And I've seen that, and we see it a lot in different forms, but that's what it is. It's a truth that he wants to believe because of things that are happening to him, and it makes sense to him because of that.
Yeah.
And I hate that he's going through it, but even if I wasn't aware in some aspect that he was, I'm already convinced everything he's saying is wrong.
Yeah.
But even to some degree, if I was not convinced yet, I'd still feel like I would believe that he's still wrong.
Yeah.
Even without all the little details that I feel like are out there, I still feel like, come on, man. There are pictures.
Yeah.
There are pictures.
There's got to be pictures. But then again, he doesn't have any of those pictures.
That's true. But he has seen them. And
yes, but again, he thinks, what if it was an implanted memory? Because they burned down their house.
So no one else would have any pictures of them?
That's the question.
Well, I feel like somebody would. I'm kind of surprised that maybe Panaka wouldn't have a picture of them if she looks at them like her own grandchildren in some aspect, as a family friend. And maybe a picture of all three of them, like Winry and them together. You can't tell me that they wouldn't have taken a picture at some point with the three of them together as kids playing. I don't know. They set it up to go forward with his delusions. And
yeah.
I don't really know what more to say about him, because it's I hate that this is where he's at, but I'm guessing this is that moment you were talking about where things sour between them. This is the big souring moment. There's nothing bigger than this. Because this is pretty hardcore.
Not that I can remember.
Okay. Because like I said, this is hardcore. I can't imagine there being another rift, but it's an understandable one.
Yeah.
Because of where Al is in his head. And even if that one guy hadn't gotten into him, Butcher hadn't gotten into his head, I could see that thought coming around at some point and making him start to think, especially after what Tucker said.
Yeah.
Like if he hadn't gotten it into his head, that might have gotten into his head.
Yeah. I mean, like that seed of doubt was planted, the moment he couldn't remember that girl.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just kind of kept trickling because he kept thinking on it and kept trying to remember more stuff, but couldn't remember things. And you can understand why it grew. Like it started as a seed and now it's a whole goddamn tree.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, what is it going to take to convince him? Because I feel like a lot of the facts are already there and he's just refusing to see them. So what would it take to get through to this young boy? Because he's still a child. Still the mentality of a child.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a hard thing to break, even though some kids are a little bit more vulnerable than others. You can convince them of anything.
I mean, if we want to find out, all we have to do is continue watching.
I suppose we should.
There's no I suppose. It's hell yeah, let's get to the next episode.
Because, I got nothing else to say. This was a pretty straightforward episode, just leading to that point. So, yeah, I guess we'll jump along to the next episode since I got nothing more to say about it.
Well, then why don't you lead us out?
So, weebs, go tell your friends or whomever to listen to the podcast on the favorite podcasting platform. Leave us a 5-star review if you want. You can leave us whatever kind of review you want, just as long as you're doing it. And that would be great. I'll read it out on the show if you do. And you can also listen to episodes early on patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions and keep up with all things at pencilpaperproductions.com/inspiredweeaboo. Links are in the show notes down below.
All right, my little weebs. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.